All right, y'all, what's going on? Welcome to the Monday night live stream. How we doing today? Let me know if y'all can hear me clearly in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me clearly. Oh, the sounds good. And I got a few things to show y'all tonight. So I got my specially infused water. You know what I'm saying? So 3 grams of citrulline malate, 5 grams of creatine monohydrate, and 3 grams of beta alanine. So that's what we got going on here tonight. All right, Ali, what's going on? Welcome. Good to see you back in here. Raquel Duffy, what's going on? Welcome. Hey, Mama, how you doing? And the first lady of the tribe, forever faithful unto him, aka My Happy Healthy. Everybody, give a big shout out to the first lady of the tribe. So before I get started, right? Um, some of the things I'm going to be talking about, all right? Some of my favorite breakfast foods, right? So typically I'll have two of these on deck. These are two cantaloupes, right? So I'll try to have a few of these. I'm going to go to the store tomorrow and get another honeydew. My spot has honeydew that are like rather large. They got some extra large honeydew and cantaloupe. And them bad boys are like 5 and 6 pounds. They got some big ones over there. So I'm going to go pick up some of those. And then I got my mangoes. So I got a few of these. Not cheap, but definitely worth it, right? I mean, two of these mangoes are like 2.5 pounds, nearly 3 pounds of mango right here, right? These three mangoes here, right? So this is some good weight. Look at them colors, by the way. You see that? And that beautiful orange on the inside. And I'm going to talk about why I decided to bring these on and how relevant this is because people, uh, when Skittles says taste the rainbow, they're not playing. There's actually some legitimacy to that, right? When we're talking about taste the rainbow, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about raw vegan meal planning, and I'm going to talk about my favorite breakfasts. Right? So let's see. We get some folks in here. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to start off with my favorite breakfasts. Breakfasts. All right, we're gonna talk a little bit about those. And the reason why I wanted to talk a little bit about this is how your day starts, what you eat in the beginning of your day. That is going to set the record for the rest of what your day is going to look like, right? So it's very important to get it off to the right start. So I want to talk about how to start your days as far as your meal planning. All right. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I have some particular ones that are my favorites. So I'm going to get into that there. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to show y'all how granular do I want to get with that. Or do I want to get extra nerdy, or do I just want to talk about it on the stream tonight? Do y'all want to see the MyFitnessPal back end? Do y'all want to see that, what the foods that I choose and how it comes out to, or would you rather me just explain it? Right? I'll let y'all choose which I would rather me do. Yeah. Let's see this here. All right. Let me just set up right quick because I got something pulled up here. And what I'm going to do, since I already kind of made this up, I'm going to flip to it, y'all. So let's start. Raw vegan meal planning. What does a day of eating look like? We want to see it. Got it. So raw vegan meal planning. What does it look like? We'll take a look at this here. All right. So in my back end, all right, MyFitnessPal. This is a really simple way to plan out meals. Okay. So I just did like your average kind of 2,000 calories a day kind of deal. Now, if you have certain goals, like let's say you were doing some heavy duty strength training, you were doing hypertrophy training, trying to build muscle optimally, right? Then you're probably going to be getting up there around, 2,600, 2,800, 3,000 calories here, right? But this, what I did, it's 3 meals in a total, and it comes out to a total of 2,072 calories, 401 grams of carbs, 39 grams of fat, and 66 grams of protein. All right. And the reason why I decided to show this, y'all. Y'all know I am very big into equipping y'all with, I'm not stingy when it comes to sharing information, right? Because this is a form of activism for me. I want people to be well informed. Now, check out this macro pie here. Now, rule number one when it comes to a whole food plant-based diet is that it should be a carbohydrate dominant diet, right? You want your body to be able to easily access and use food for energy. And so carbohydrates is going to be the primary vehicle for that, especially if you want to drop body fat, okay? Because chances are, if you struggle to lose weight, chances are you also are often lethargic and you sleep poorly and have low energy in general, right? And a big part of obesity is insulin resistance, which is the reason why weight loss can be so difficult in the first place. Because you got to get your blood sugar down enough in order to really start tapping into fat for energy. And so that's where you're not going to be able to calorie cut your way out of that, right? Just because being in a dramatic caloric deficit is just not sustainable. So we got to do things for the long haul, longevity. So we got 72 grams of carbs. This is a fully raw day of eating. We got 16% on the dietary fat, right? So I don't go the full 80-10-10 route usually. What I like to do is more, I like to hover around in between 15 and 20% when it comes to dietary fat, right? And then with protein, 12%. So this is like right under what would be scientifically considered to be a high protein diet. A high protein diet is 16% and above. That anything that hits 16%, that would classify as a high protein diet. And normally the human diet doesn't really require a whole lot of protein, right? Um, Here in the States, in the United States or the Western world, we put a massive emphasis on protein, and this is largely a corporate thing that is perpetuated by corporate interests. Obviously, if your largest agricultural sector of your economy is animal agriculture, where you're basically just eating a bunch of, hot dogs, burgers, steaks, lobster, all types of fish, meat, bacon, sausages, right? This is the largest form of agriculture in the United States, right? So, our diet here in the States is very, very, very loaded with animal products, dairy, cheese, meat, etc. Way too much protein. The interesting thing is that on average, most Americans have a high protein diet, and ironically, our population is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Right? So this would kind of illustrate to you, right? People are cutting their carbohydrates and they're increasing their protein and their dietary fat and getting weaker as they do so. All right. So this really is a good illustration that the emphasis that we put on protein is way off the mark, right? It just doesn't, statistically, it doesn't really have any legitimacy to it. The goal with protein is you need to eat enough of it, not a lot, just enough, right? So, for example, you have a sidearm, a firearm. Um, the magazine can hold, I don't know, let's say 16 rounds, one in the chamber. You need a maximum of 17 rounds to be fully loaded, okay? Any more than that will not fit. So you're just going to end up storing it anyway. The only difference is with protein, it doesn't really get stored in the body, right? Whatever doesn't get used gets converted into glucose through the process of gluconeogenesis. All right. So, anyways, let's scroll up to the meals here. So, as far as favorite breakfasts, I am a tremendous fan of rolled oats. All right. Rolled oats are a substantial source of iron, copper, magnesium, manganese, protein, and things of this nature, as well as soluble fiber, which acts as a nice protective attribute to diet in order to protect and reinforce your stomach lining, all right, as well as control blood sugar and things like that. So it's filling, very nutritious, um, and just has a good nutrient profile straight across the board. So I am a big fan specifically of overnight rolled oats. Okay, so I don't even cook my oats. I don't cook oats. What I do is I soak them. All right. So now in this first meal here, We got 1 cup of rolled oats. We've got 8 ounces of Siggy's coconut yogurt. All right. And then we got 1 cup of blueberries and 1 cup of raspberries. Okay. This meal right here. So this has a caloric value of 785, 116 grams of carbs, 21 grams of fat, and 37 grams of protein. All right. This is a great meal that you can generally start your day off with, or this could at least be your second meal of the day. All right. But this is a big deal. And I'm going to explain the structure in a second here. All right. So with the coconut yogurts, we have all the essential fatty acids. We got an abundance of protein. We got probiotic cultures, which are tremendously good for your gut bacteria, your intestines, your whole digestive tract in general. All right. And then of course, this meal is heavily loaded with all types of antioxidants, vitamin C, etc. So if you are dealing with a lot of inflammation in your body, all right, a lot of oxidative stress, this is a really great meal to drive that down. Okay. Now, as far as starting, because this could be your first or your second meal, but it depends on what your goals are and what chronic illnesses or metabolic disorders you may have. And it also depends on your schedule. So let's say you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, all right? A great habit, you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you go and you drink, let's say, 8 ounces of water with squeezed lime, a small pinch of sea salt, and then you take 500 micrograms of chromium picolinate and 5,000 IUs of vitamin D3. It's a great way to start your day. The chromium is very good and necessary for thyroid function as well as blood sugar control and insulin sensitivity, right? So this is a very good idea for anybody who has hypo or hyperthyroid. This is very good for anybody who has fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, okay? That's very important, even if you've got kidney disease as well, because kidney disease, a large part hinges on, blood sugar control. So the better you control your blood sugar, this helps to drive down blood pressure, which eases oxidative stress on the kidneys. All right. So right out the gate, we're touching on the chronic illnesses and the specific strategy right out the gate. And that's before any kind of eating. Okay. And that's just one way to start your day. You don't have to start your day that way. That's just one option. Instead, what you can do is, let's say you don't want to drink the water with the pinch of sea salt in the key lime. What you could do instead is you can have a cup of tea, right? So you can drink 8 ounces of matcha tea. Matcha tea is a type of green tea, okay, and it has like EGCG and different chemical compounds in it that drive down oxidative stress, protect your cells, as well as increase fat burn, your overall thermogenesis and metabolic activity, right? Essentially, matcha, very good for fat burn and insulin sensitivity and controlling blood sugar. If you have a caffeine sensitivity, a safer option would be moringa tea, okay? Maybe even chai tea. Chai tea doesn't really have that much caffeine in it because it's a mixture of a whole bunch of other different things. I think like coriander, cinnamon, um, black tea, and something else. I forget what comes to mind. It's not nutmeg, it's something else. Maybe it is nutmeg. I'm not sure. But yeah, chai tea is a mixture of different types of things. So you can have that, right? I've even bought chai in like a powder form, and I'll just do like 1 or 2 grams of it in a mug and drink that in the morning. And you can still have that with the chromium picolinate and the vitamin D3. All right, and that's another option. You can also do moringa. I think I said moringa already. So moringa powder, which basically is made out of moringa leaves from a moringa tree. Soursop tea, right? You can do soursop powder made from ground soursop leaves. Okay. You can do hibiscus. Now, the interesting thing is all the teas that I mentioned, those are very good for improving what? Those are all very good for improving insulin sensitivity. All right. Um, Now, let's say if you're dealing with a tremendous amount of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, massive stress in the morning. When it comes to eating, you may want to start with this here. either 3 pounds, well, yes, 3 pounds of cantaloupe. So essentially, this cantaloupe is about 3.5 pounds. All right. So this cantaloupe here is about 3.5 pounds, maybe a little bit more than that. But when you cut it, okay, and you remove the outer layer, that's when you're gonna get just straight up 3 pounds of the flesh of the cantaloupe. Okay. So that's why I say 3 pounds. So if we, take a look at the cantaloupe, okay, that's 3 pounds of cantaloupe is about 463 um, calories, 111 grams of carbohydrates, 2 grams of fat, and 11 grams of protein. Okay. Now, the reason why cantaloupe is such a big deal, especially for men, cantaloupe is orange on the inside. Okay. That orange pigmentation, the thing that makes it orange, is the beta carotene. Beta carotene is a precursor to vitamin A. Vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin and it has a whole variety of functions. You need it for optimal nervous system function. You need it for optimal immune system function. It protects the cells in your body, helps to strengthen your bones and muscle tissue, improves testosterone levels. So if you're a man who has low testosterone or low free testosterone, that vitamin A is going to be very important for regulating those hormones and bringing up that free testosterone. Okay, so if you've got low libido, erectile dysfunction, something like that, that cantaloupe is a very good option to definitely start off the day with. All right. Vitamin A is also very important for maintaining the flexibility, durability, and just the overall condition of your vascular system and the tissues that make up your organs, like your heart. Okay. So if you have a lack of vitamin A, this can cause calcification of arteries. Okay. This can lead to an excessive buildup of visceral fat on top of the organs. All right, so that vitamin A is really important for that. So if you've got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you're at risk of like stroke, heart attack, things like that. That vitamin A is very important, right? And so the way in our body can make that vitamin A from the beta carotene. Okay. Another option is going to be mangoes, right? Mangoes, very orange in the middle, similar to cantaloupe, really the same as cantaloupe. So that's another good option of your vitamin A. So strategically, um, what I like to do if I put together a raw diet plan for somebody in particular, okay? Um, I like to alternate between the cantaloupe and the mangoes, right? To get that orange pigmentation in there for that vitamin A. We want all that beta carotene. And beta carotene is also very beneficial for women, okay? Because it also regulates your estrogen as well. So when it comes to natural foods, a lot of the times the things that are very beneficial for men are also very beneficial for women. I think the biggest difference between men and women is women need less dietary fat. Men typically need more dietary fat, right? And the main reason for that is because men need more zinc than women do. Men need more iron and copper than men typically do, right? Um, because men require higher testosterone levels than women do. So the quantities are a bit different, right? So when it comes to things like pumpkin seed kernels, almonds, walnuts, Brazil nuts, these things are extremely beneficial for men's health. It's good for women's health also, but you just don't need a lot of it. You really don't need to eat much of it at all, to be quite honest. Women do very well with a fully raw or very raw diet loaded with leafy greens, raw fruits, and whole grains, okay? Because a big part of women's health is hygiene, all right? Your body's ability to purge toxins, okay? And so going back to the iron, copper, zinc thing, If you are a woman who is getting a very high amount of iron, copper, and zinc in your diet, this is going to intensify your menstrual cycle. Okay, so this leads to things like cramps, excessive bleeding, thickening of the uterine lining, etc. Okay, that's why you don't want excessive levels of iron, copper, and zinc. All right. And if you're a woman dealing with anemia and you're taking iron pills, they could be working against you, right? Because a lot of that iron actually doesn't get used to bring up your hemoglobin. And then instead, it can get stored into your body in an excessive degree, and your body ends up thickening your uterine lining as a result, and then using that to purge that excess iron. All right. So, things like the little nuances like this are very important to understand. So, being hydrated and having a high vitamin C diet is very important for women in particular, especially when it comes to your skin condition. Okay. The ideal sources of, let's say, dietary fat for women is going to be things like coconut. Okay. Coconut jelly, coconut milk, coconut water, mangoes, things like this, right? Um, because your foods should be predominantly very hydrating foods. Foods that are high in digestive enzymes, quercetin, probiotics, vitamin C, glycine, right? Things like this is going to, basically keep your skin soft and smooth, keep you youthful, balance out your estrogen so that your estrogen can be in alignment with your progesterone, regulating thyroid, blood sugar, etc. All right. But I'm not going to go too deep in all of that, but basically what are my ideal breakfasts? It's going to be something like if you're, let's say, high blood pressure, diabetic, things like that, you have a metabolic disorder. First thing in the morning, you hydrate yourself, and that can be with those teas and some supplementation, right? If you have calcification of the arteries, high cholesterol, specifically high LDL cholesterol, atherosclerotic black plaque, high blood pressure, etc., a very good idea to supplement with vitamin D, right? Chances are you probably have a deficiency in vitamin D, right? As well as chromium, right? But typically it's going to be vitamin D, right? The chromium is more so for the blood sugar and thyroid. That's going to pick up your energy levels so that your body can be better adapt at using glucose for energy, right? On the mitochondrial level. That's why that's so important. And the more insulin sensitive you get, the better you are at decongesting your liver, having better energy, getting better fat loss, and basically keeping your vascular system, liver, heart, and all of that type of stuff in optimal working form. All right. So second, after you drink the teas and all of that, then you got your fruits, right? So it can be watermelon or honeydew or cantaloupe or mangoes or pineapple. Some people, though, with the pineapple, you can't eat a whole lot of it, right? Because it starts to feel like needles in the mouth a little bit. So some people can only eat like 2 or 3 cups until they start feeling it really biting on their tongue, right? So if you have a sensitivity to pineapple, you may not want to do all of that. You may want to just stick to things like watermelon, cantaloupe, mangoes, things like that. Very calorically dense, a lot of water, a lot of nutrients, and a substantial amount of protein. All right. And then that second meal with those rolled oats and that coconut yogurt and whatnot can be like a good post-workout meal. So with these fruits, this is a good way to get hydrated and get a ton of carbs into your body. Let that settle down and break down in your system for a little bit, then go work out, get a nice hardcore 30-minute solid training session. All right. So you utilize all the carbohydrates from the fruits, and that's when you come back for something more savory and filling, like the rolled oats with the coconut yogurt and all of that kind of stuff. All right. And so basically going back to the third meal here, that third meal, we got a nice little salad here. Okay. So this is 2 pears, um, 2 kiwis, a quarter cup of pumpkin seed kernels, and 4 cups of spring mix. All right. So this is going to give you a caloric total of 509 calories, 93 grams of carbs, 15 grams of fat, and 14 grams of protein. All right. So That's a solid meal right there, very intelligently put together. Pears, loaded with vitamin C, very good for your gut health, right? Has the necessary digestive enzymes to maximize absorption and maintenance of your intestines. Okay. Kiwis, good source of fiber, omega-3 essential fatty acids, vitamin E, B vitamins, tons of vitamin C. I think like kiwis are like one of the fruits that are the most rich in vitamin C. And vitamin C, if you are anemic, right, you have low hemoglobin or something like that, you want to increase vitamin C and copper, right? Kiwi is one of those foods that's going to do it. In order to really absorb iron, right, non-heme iron, you need vitamin C to do it, right? So something like kiwis becomes really important. Vitamin E is very important for keeping up your testosterone, balancing out estrogen, adrenal function, immune system, nervous system, muscular contraction, brain function, nerve repair, all types of stuff, right? So vitamin E is a very big deal for your immune system, right? Fighting off infections, viruses, bacteria, protecting, from fungal overgrowth and all types of stuff, right? So that's a big deal, extremely important. If you've got something like, if you have a history of yeast infections or candida overgrowth, right? Foods like kiwis and foods like coconut yogurt are some very important foods that you should have in your diet. All right, because of the probiotic bacteria, the vitamin E, and things like this. Okay. And then, of course, in addition to that, things like ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, oregano, these types of things also help with that. But coconut in particular, going back to coconut, is antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. Okay. Um, so not to go too far back, but just a wealth of information we're putting out here on the table as far as how these foods work. Pumpkin seed kernels. Pumpkin seed kernels are a very rich source of magnesium, right? It's actually pumpkin seed kernels are one of the top foods that contain the most magnesium in its weight, right? So pound for pound, it's a really high level of magnesium, right? So just a quarter cup of pumpkin seed kernels can get you around 20% or so of your RDI, right? Recommended daily intake of magnesium. Also an abundant source of manganese, iron, copper, and zinc. Right. So pumpkin seed kernels is also a really good food for um, sexual health as well as metabolic function. Caveat is if you have, let's say your liver doesn't produce enough bile, right? So this gives you a lack of bile stored in your gallbladder. So then you end up having low stomach acid. And then when you have low stomach acid, your stomach is not acidic enough to be able to break down fats. Then pumpkin seeds might be a problem. You may have to go an alternate route. But that depends. I'm just keeping that in mind, right? If you don't do well with fats, like if you eat like a fat rich food and it gives you like stomach pains, cramps, maybe you break out on your face or something like that. Um, you've got a history of kidney stones or something like that, then you would need to go an even more carbohydrate rich route. More than likely, you would be fine with something like coconut yogurt, but as far as something that's way more rich in fats, like avocado or nuts and seeds, that may be a different story. But generally speaking, pumpkin seed kernels are a very good food. Getting them roasted, okay, dry roasted pumpkin seed kernels are the easiest for your intestines to pull nutrients from. You get raw pumpkin seed kernels. Some people with a compromised gut, this may be a nightmare for you, and you may not be able to really get much nutrients from it if you have a compromised digestive tract, right? So it's good to keep that in mind. So that's why you may want to get them dry roasted or drop them from your diet entirely. And then we got the leafy greens, the spring mix. And the spring mix is a very good source of insoluble fiber, omega-3 essential fatty acids. Leafy greens essentially are like an edible multivitamin. That's essentially what it is. And you can eat this stuff in large volume, right? Because it's not really calorically dense. But as far as antioxidants and micronutrients per pound, um, leafy greens are a really big deal, especially for gut health. Okay. Leafy greens aren't essential to everyone's diet, right? So you can have a completely amazing diet without any leafy greens at all. But if you're a fan of making salads and things like that, um, then definitely get them in there, right, with the spring mix. Also, those leafy greens to keep you fuller for longer, and the leafy greens give you a good source of prebiotic fiber, which feeds your good gut bacteria. So if you're going to get a probiotic rich food in your diet on a consistent basis, for example, like coconut yogurt, then you may want to provide those prebiotic fibers from the green leafy vegetables to feed that gut bacteria so that they can proliferate and take root in your gut so that you can have more long-term, stable, optimal gut health. Okay, so that's one of the major functions for the leafy greens. Also, with the leafy greens, this particular fiber expands and then they bind to toxins. They bind to excess mammalian estrogens. This is another way that your body regulates estrogen. It it binds to excess calcium. It binds to excess cholesterol, right? Lipoproteins. It binds to whatever excess stuff, right, needs to be pulled out of your digestive tract, including heavy metals. Okay. So if you've got contaminants floating around in your gut, it's going to be a really big deal to have that insoluble fiber to essentially sweep your intestines and pull that stuff out of your colon and drop the kids off in the pool to your fecal matter. You know what I'm saying? On the porcelain throne, folks. Now, with this meal in particular, what you could do is you can dice the pears and the kiwis in these little chunks, okay? And then sprinkle in the pumpkin seed kernels, and then you mix it all in the abundance of greens, and you get a nice big wooden bowl like I got with my bowl called Fill Up the Bowl, right? Nice big salad bowl. You can just mix all of that up in there. And if you want to get real funky with it, you can add some squeezed lime juice on top, right? And that has it's variety of digestive enzymes, electrolytes, etc. on there, and it's a real kick in the mouth, right? So you get the sweetness, and then you get like the sourness or the tartness from the lime. So it's a fascinating feeling in the mouth there, right? And that's pretty much a full day of eating on a raw vegan diet in 3 meals. You can add more than that. You can add 4 meals, right? Something like that. So you can have if you have 4 meals, then you can spread it out where you have each meal is around 500 calories. So 5,000, 1,500, 2,000, and then boom. If you want to increase it more than that, you can have each meal at 600 or 700 calories, right? And then basically you get a lot more than the 2,000 as you make each meal larger. So you adjust it to whatever food intake that you need. I'm a big fan of 3 meals because I like to have all of my eating start and end in the earlier portion of the day, and then I can have it extended fast on the back end. So I'm not going to bed with a belly full of food. Okay. So if I'm done eating by 4 or 5 o'clock, or even earlier than that, I can get a nice stable blood sugar of like around in between 90 and 80, just coasting throughout the day. And so my body is going to be dipping into stored fat to be using that for energy. Okay. So I'm going to be chipping away at stored fat throughout that entire time. If you have a weight loss goal and you're trying to get leaner, this is a good strategy to use. This is um, so far the scientific studies show that as far as intermittent fasting goes, there is ETRF, early time restricted feeding, and then MTRF, midday time restricted feeding. And the studies show that early time restricted feeding works better. It has an edge on midday time restricted feeding. right? So if you're trying to lose weight and maximize fat loss, that may be a good option to go. And also, when you're not going to bed with a belly full of food, this can improve your sleep quality as well. All right, so that's pretty much all I got to say about that. Bringing that to a close, let's catch up with y'all in the comments here. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. What's up, brother? Looking to start the fruitarian diet. What should I do to purge and prepare my body for this way of living? Well, I mean, a big part of of eating that kind of way, eating raw like that, is it helps your body to purge toxins, right? That's a large part of what it's for. So you ain't really a whole lot of prep that you need to do in order to get into it. You really just need to start. You got two options. Either you can go raw right out the gate, or you can ease into it gradually. Is it bad to work out fasted? Actually, no. If you're trying to drop body fat, you're trying to maximize fat burn, working out fasted is actually a very good option because you really force your body to mobilize fat for energy when you do that. Let's see. I get up early and hit the gym, usually fasted. Sometimes I'll do some fruit and water and then go work out. But I feel great fasted. Yeah, that's for sure. I went several years training in a fasted state. I don't do it so much anymore. I like eating first before I go to train. I just feel better and I feel like my training performance is better when I do that. But if I'm going to be training really early in the morning, I'm not going to eat before I work out. So if I'm training around um, 4, 5, or 6 o'clock, I'm not going to eat before that. It's too early. What I would rather do is if I'm going to train early, chances are I'm going to wake up with my blood sugar a little elevated. So what I want to do is I want to use that elevated blood sugar and ride that into my workout. All right. So I'm probably going to drink some tea or something first like that. Or I'm gonna do my creatine, beta alanine, and citrulline mix. I'm gonna drink that down and then go and I'm gonna do my workout and then and then eat afterwards. But if I'm training more midday, like I'll have my workouts around like 10 o'clock or so, then I'm probably gonna eat my first meal and then go work out and then have my second meal. All right. Now I got one more thing that I want to bring up. All right. So I was on TikTok today. And I try not to spend too much leisure time on TikTok, okay? And the reason why is because TikTok is a massive time suck. You can be on there for like 2 hours. And when I go on TikTok, all the videos are like comedy videos, right? So there's just nonstop comedic material on TikTok. By the way, before I go on this whole tangent here, all right? Folks, like the stream if you like the stream. Hit the like button. Like and share. And if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. For YouTube, we got like a whole host of like uh instructions, right? You know what they go on you go on YouTube and they said like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell to get you got all these instructions, right? YouTube is no joke. YouTube is complex. But yeah, definitely. If you appreciate this information I'm putting out here on the stream, definitely like the stream to like the stream. Well, should I say like the stream? If you like the stream, hit the like button, right? So we can top off a little bit here in the algorithm. All right. So getting back on it, TikTok. I came across somebody on TikTok. I've heard of him before. Never really watched much of his content. There's a guy, and his name is Paul Saladino. My understanding is this is a big like carnivore diet guy. I think that he probably a ways back he was just doing the carnivore stuff, and then he switched to carnivore and adding fruit. right? I don't know why he did that. I guess I would have to do a little bit more watching of his content. I've seen some of his stuff, and I looked him up, and I think he's an MD, right? Paul Saladino, MD. But my understanding is that he's a psychiatrist. It's interesting because all of his content is about diet, which is kind of weird. You know, you get like, a lot of these like keto and carnivore guys, they have whole YouTube channels where it's all dietary stuff. And they're like, I'm doctor this and I'm MD that. But then like they're like chiropractors and psychiatrists and stuff like that. None of them are like nutritionists. It's kind of odd. But in any case, he does a video about oats, you know. And this is very interesting to me because apparently, from what he says, oats are a problematic food and you should avoid eating them because they're not the breakfast of champions. So we're going to take a look here and see what he says and get to hear him out on this one.
Calcium, iron, and many others in your body and prevents you from absorbing them.
Let me go
Basically,
here
your
for a
morning
second.
oatmeal is robbing you of nutrients, not a health food.
All right. So
Take health.
let's start back. Okay. So this is his oatmeal is not healthy. Let's see what he has to say here.
Take health foods, oatmeal. You think this is the best breakfast ever. This is not the breakfast of champions. Oats are full of phytic acid, a compound that chelates, that bites onto minerals like magnesium, zinc, calcium, iron, and many others in your body and prevents you from absorbing them. Basically, your morning oatmeal is robbing you of nutrients, not a health food, horrible breakfast.
All right. So that's what folks is putting out on TikTok. Oatmeal, not a health food because it has phytic acid, and phytic acid binds to calcium, iron, zinc, and copper, and magnesium, and prevents your body from absorbing those nutrients. Right. So oats are robbing you of your nutrients. Now, this is a very interesting claim, and I'm going to explain why. So, number one, oats can't be robbing you of these nutrients when these nutrients are contained in the oats. So, really, the best you can say is you're not going to be able to absorb 100% of the nutrients that those oats are giving you because of the phytic acid. It would make more sense for him to say, because it's not robbing you. Robbing implies that, like, this food is taking something from you that your body has already possessed or absorbed. Okay. There's no evidence to really show that that's the case. Now, the thing that makes this claim particularly interesting is the fact that oats are very high in these minerals that he's claiming that oats are robbing you of. Right? So, if you're eating a food, you're going to be given some type of nutrients from that food. So, the best you can say is, well, you're not absorbing 100% of it. So, if he was honest, I'm not accusing him of lying. He probably doesn't know this. He's a psychiatrist, right? Either psychiatrist or psychologist, one of those. So he probably doesn't know this. He's not a nutritionist, right? Um, his claim would make a lot more sense if he were to just say, hey, those minerals in oats are not as bioavailable because of the phytic acid. It would make more sense than claiming that, oats are robbing you of something. That's just me being pedantic. Don't mind me. Now, the claim he's making is more of a theory because there's no evidence for it. Right? The claim would make more sense if he was applying it to just eating raw, dry oats. All right. If you were eating raw, dry oats, and that's what he was talking about, that would make a lot more sense. And he's playing in a bowl of raw, dry oats. I don't know if he assumes that that's how people eat it or what. I don't know. Phytic acid, for the most part, is neutralized when the food is either soaked, cooked, milled, or fermented, for example. Okay. So if you do, like, for example, what I do, and you eat overnight oats, which means those oats have been soaking overnight so that I can eat them in the morning. So if I'm soaking my rolled oats, for example, for 10, 12 hours or so, that neutralizes the phytic acid. So that phytic acid is not going to be inhibiting my intestine's ability to absorb that nutrients. All right. Um, so he got to do, I don't know if he just learned about phytic acid and he didn't learn, because if you're going to hear this scary thing about phytic acid, you're going to be like, oh, that sounds dangerous. Well, how do I fix the phytic acid problem? That would be the next thing, right? If oats are problematic because of the phytic acid, well, is there anything I can do to the oats that would neutralize this problem? We figured he would, and the video that he did is 27 seconds. So he could have said, hey, oats has phytic acid, which could present the problem. Here's a solution. And he could have did that. For whatever reason, he chose not to. If I were to do the video, I would say, well, phytic acid, first of all, I wouldn't do this video about the phytic acid because nobody's eating dry raw oats, or at least you shouldn't. Right? It's kind of weird for you to do that in the first place. Don't eat dry rice. Don't eat dry uncooked beans. Don't eat dried, uncooked oats. Don't eat dried uncooked kamut or anything of this. Don't do that. All right. Uh, Raw vegans, however, will like sprout or will will ground foods in like a food processor. Both of those options also neutralize phytic acid. So if you put like a whole grain, you put it in a food processor, right? You grind it down real fine. And then let's say you then soak it in other ingredients, okay? That also contributes to the neutralizing of phytic acid. And then if you mold it into like, let's say a raw vegan bread, and then you put it into a dehydrator, well, then that also neutralizes the phytic acid. So even if you're a raw vegan, the phytic acid issue is not really going to be a problem for you. Okay. So basically, there is no evidence that says that the phytic acid thing is going to be a problem. He's basically theorizing and kind of cherry picking phytic acid. Now, in addition to that, um, in that meal that I mentioned earlier with the coconut yogurt, the rolled oats, there's also vitamin C rich foods in there, like blueberries and raspberries. Blueberries and the raspberries contain vitamin C. Vitamin C also neutralize any negative effects of phytic acid. Vitamin C increases the absorption of those nutrients. Okay, so the vitamin C essentially counteracts whatever negative effects that he was theorizing would happen. So not only is the phytic acid problem neutralized by the soaking and the grounding and the sprouting, etc., it's also neutralized from the vitamin C rich foods that you have in combination with that food as well. All right, so just going to set the record straight on that, since I brought up rolled oats and talking about how it's a great food to have in your post-workout meal with high protein and all this type of stuff. All right, let me catch up with y'all in these comments here. Let's see. When I see these carnivore people eating animal private areas. Yeah, you said balls. Is that you put a basketball and a tennis racket? Are they doing that? Are they like actually doing that on camera where they eating like animal parts like that? They eating the reproductive organs of animals? Is that really what they're doing on camera? That is aggressively odd. That is a very, very strange thing to do. Plant-based white, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Is a fruitarian diet healthy? Don't you miss a lot of nutrients from not eating raw veggies? No, I mean, even people who on a fruitarian diet will still eat veggies. It's just that, like a fruitarian diet, is a fruit dominant diet, meaning that the food that you eat the most is fruit. So for example, some fruitarians, they're like, I only eat fruit, and that's it. I don't eat anything else, just fruit. Um, and then there's people who say, well, about 80% or 90% of my diet is fruit, or maybe even 70% of my diet is fruit, right? So there's a sliding scale. But when you say fruitarian, right, it kind of implies that it's a fruit-based diet, meaning like most of your food is fruit. Some people, they may have like a specific goal because they're trying to reverse an acute chronic illness, or not, it can't be acute and chronic, but like a severe chronic illness. They may say, I'm just going to only eat fruit. Like maybe they'll say, I'm just going to eat mangoes, watermelons, and grapes every day, right? And they may do that, or they may say, I'm just going to eat grapes and watermelon every day. I'm not going to eat anything else, right? So there's people who do that as well. It may not really be that sustainable. I don't think it's optimal either. But there's people who do that. I don't really particularly write diet plans like that. I'd feel like a bit of a jerk if somebody came to me and say, "Hey, can you make me a diet plan? I need help with this issue." And it was just like meal one, 3 pounds of grapes. Meal two, 3 pounds of grapes. Meal three, 3 pounds of grapes. Right? It's like, you serious? He's gonna just get, he's got me just eating pounds of grapes for every meal. Really? So no, I think that you should cover all your bases, right? When I talk about the colors and the variety, right? So when I talk about the different varieties of your orange fleshed foods to get your beta carotene and whatnot, probably some of the most diverse food choices on the planet are going to be fruit, right? I mean, there's more fruit in the fruit category than there is of like pretty much any other food quote. What is that? So like for example, if I had to name, okay, beans, what beans would you eat? Probably be black beans, red kidney beans, black eyed peas, maybe green peas, yellow peas, red lentils, green lentils, right? And then what? Brown lentils, soybeans. So you can name like 15 different ones for that, right? For whole grains, it would be like, oats, buckwheat. I would say kasha, but kasha is buckwheat, it's just toasted. So kamut, millet, farro, just rice, because there's different types of rice. Um, quinoa. But then when it comes to like fruits, you can be like cantaloupe, honeydew, watermelon, mango, kiwis, grapes, grapefruit, cucumber, apples, pears, peaches, plums, um, avocado, right? What else? I mean, I can probably name like 30. Jackfruit, soursop, what else? I'm missing some. Bananas. I don't even have those alone say banana, papaya, pineapple. So there's way more diversity in fruits, really, if you think about it. And each fruit has its own unique digestive enzymes and things like that. That are good for your gut health and your brain chemistry, etc. So it's just like fruits are just extremely abundant and diverse, right? You have passion fruit, star fruit, dragon fruit, all these different ones, right? All types of different mangoes, all types of different melons, coconut. I mean, really, if I had to draw out a list, I mean, I can name like 40 different types of fruits. Um, so fruits are just very diverse. So you could have a diet where it's just all fruit and you wouldn't really need to eat any other food categories. It could work. I don't particularly write plans like that. That's not my philosophy. I'm not really in favor of just dogmatically excluding nuts and seeds, leafy vegetables, grains, and legumes. I'm more of a high raw vegan diet, meaning that, about 70% of your diet is uncooked. So like if you have like 3 meals a day, two of them are going to be raw, one of them would be cooked. Or, if you have 4 meals a day, three of them are raw, one of them are cooked, like that kind of thing. Or you'll have days where you'll have a cooked meal maybe 3 times a week or something like that, right? So that's more my approach. But I like diversity and abundance. I think that if a food is beneficial to you and it's within your ethical framework, then definitely go for it. So that's my take on that. Let's see, lentil sprout bowl is my daily lunch. Great canvas to keep your taste buds interested. Great canvas to take it. What's your thoughts on water and drinking it out of a plastic bottle? I'm not a big fan of plastic bottles, to be quite honest. Not really a fan. It's hard to find water strictly from a glass that comes from the store. Yeah, I mean, I have a big glass bottle usually that I put, so I get water from a Brita pitcher that I keep in the fridge, and I'll just fill up my glass bottle. I have my own glass bottle that I'll put my water in. I'm not really a big fan of plastic water bottles, right? So I'm not really, it's not the worst thing to drink out of a plastic bottle, but try to avoid stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? How we doing here, folks? How we feeling? Do we got any other questions before I move on? We're flying through the segments tonight. We are flying through them. So if I'm talking a little too fast and you want me to repeat or explain something, I can definitely do that before I move on. Because we do got to talk about mindset um, and what determines success. I'm not big on motivational speeches. I'm big on logistics and strategy. So whenever you listen to me live or watch any of my content, there's going to be valuable information that you can deploy in your life right out the gate, right? That's like my goal. I want to deliver tangible, valuable information, right? That you can actively deploy in your life to improve your situation. Is stainless steel good also? I believe so. I'm more partial to glass. Um, but yeah, you can do stainless steel, right? Um, and it's probably going to be more durable than glass, especially for teas. If you're drinking like a really scalding hot tea, all while I just filled up my plastic water bottle. Yeah, well, I mean, look, we live and learn. You know, Kelly White, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Any difference on what women should eat after menopause? There's not going to be a whole lot of difference, but I think it would be very beneficial for women after menopause to have um, at least a high raw diet and really minimize, the amount of fats you consume if you have certain gut health issues. I think gut health becomes extremely important. I think vitamin C becomes extremely important if you have menopause. And I also think that there are going to be certain herbs and teas and things like that that are very beneficial for you going through menopause. And that is going to be things like ginger, hibiscus, black cohosh, right? These kinds of things, right? Burdock root, yellow dock, right? These kinds of things that you can either take in capsule form or in a tea. Sea moss, right? Sea moss, I've seen a lot of good data on it and, good feedback on it. If you're going to get sea moss, make sure that if you want to get guaranteed legit sea moss, don't buy it already pre-made as sea moss gel in a jar. Get the dried sea moss and then make the gel yourself. Okay? Because I hear stories about like, oh, I got sea moss gel from somebody online, and it wasn't legit or it was watered down or whatever the case is. So just to make sure that you're getting good quality, get the dried whole sea moss itself, and then you clean it and whatnot and make the gel yourself. I'm a work in progress. Hey, we all are. Or after a hysterectomy. Hold on. Oh yeah, man. Let me tell you that hysterectomy. I generally advise against hysterectomies. It's dicey business. If you've gotten one, generally the same thing applies when it comes to menopause. Um, so the thing too about like, I mean, if you remove your whole, um, well, not all, it's not, it could be a partial hysterectomy or whatever. I'm not sure. I don't know a whole lot about whether, depending on your goals, it can be a good idea to, let's say, get hormone replacement therapy, right? That could be a good option. However, I'm not very well versed on the data yet to say for sure whether that's a good avenue because if you're going to be supplementing with hormones, there can be some downsides to that. Like, will it contribute to insulin resistance or other health problems, things of that nature? Um, but the reason why I would even consider it is because if for whatever reason you don't have a particular organ that normally generates that hormone, well, you got to get that hormone from somewhere, right? So you may have to have it supplemented and get on some type of replacement therapy. So you may want to speak to an endocrinologist about that because I really can't, I really can't advise on that too much because my wheelhouse is nutrition. Right? When we start getting into supplementing hormones, hormone replacement therapy, et cetera, that's a bit outside of my wheelhouse, right? Anything that had to do with needles and injections or all that or any of that kind of stuff, right? That's a bit beyond me, right? I stay in my lane with that kind of thing. But yeah, so I would say, yeah, definitely talk to an endocrinologist and ask about that. What are the pros? What are the cons? You know, that kind of thing. But yeah, black cohosh, hibiscus, ginger, those are some of the top three ones for me, right? All right. So mindset, right? So we're going to talk about success and failure. When you're trying to create, when you're trying to create a lifestyle change, okay, you're making a big change in your life, whether it be trying to lose weight, reverse a chronic illness, overcome traumas, things of this nature, mental health issues, etc. The thing that dictates your success, hold on. The thing that dictates your success is going to be when you're flexible. So, for example, let's put it this way. You have your goal, and once you set a goal, that goal is a fixed point. And then you have your behavior, meaning your plan on how you're going to achieve your goal. All right. And then you have your feelings. Your feelings day to day change very frequently. One of the biggest reasons why people don't succeed at what they're trying to achieve is you're not equally yoked to your goal if you're changing your mind a lot and your feelings are causing you to frequently change your behavior. If the goal is a fixed point, then your strategy and your behavior also have to be a fixed point because the rule of human adaptation is predictability. Your body parasympathetically, subconsciously, has to have some type of precedent set where there's an expectation. Human adaptation is based on anticipation, meaning your body will adapt to what it assumes you're going to do. It adapts to what you assume is going to happen. Okay. So let's say you want to grow the muscle in your left butt cheek. Okay. So you're going to go to the gym and you're going to target your left butt cheek. Your left butt cheek is not going to grow because you trained your left butt cheek in the past. But if you keep training your left butt cheek, then you're going to adapt and grow new muscle mass in your left butt cheek in anticipation that you're going to keep training your left butt cheek. Your body adapts in anticipation that you're going to continue to do that thing. Right. So your body subconsciously goes, oh, here we go again with the left butt cheek. Well, let me get ready for this because you know it's coming. So your body makes adjustments in anticipation because your body doesn't have to adapt to something you already did. It's already happened. There is no adapting to it. It's already happened. If it never happens again, what's the point of the anticipation? What's the point of the adaptation? What are you adapting to? You're going to adapt to something that's not going to happen again? So the adaptation is for future events to get ready. That's what adaptation is. And muscle growth is an adaptation. Weight loss is an adaptation. Reversing in chronic illness is an adaptation. Balancing your hormones is an adaptation. And your body engages in this adaptation as a means to maintain homeostasis as much as possible. So human health always perpetually exists on a bit of a tightrope. You can't, you're walking on the tightrope, you got to balance. So you can't fall too far to the left, you can't fall too far from the right. So if you're walking on that tightrope, when you're maintaining balance, you feel good. Now, if you fall too far to the left, you're clumsy and you fall, or whatever this case is, you get sick, you end up with some kind of problems. So there's this midline called homeostasis, and any deviation from that is going to cause a response. Usually it's going to be inflammation because your nervous system is going to respond to that instability, right? Being thrown off of homeostasis. You got to come back around, you got to come home. So the inflammation is the thing that lets you know that something's wrong and then bring you back to homeostasis. Let's bring you back to that midline, right? So any deviation left or right, whatever the case is, you got to come back and your body will do whatever it can to signal you and manipulate you to get you to come on back to that midline. And so you get inflammation, you get muscle growth, you get weight loss or weight gain, right? You get food cravings that cause you to eat, whatever the case is, because your body's always trying to get you and manipulate you to, and sometimes force you to do certain things that maybe you're not trying to do. So let's talk about hunger cravings. Hunger cravings a lot of times happen at the same time. It's a time-based thing. It's not because you're hungry necessarily. It's not because you're starving. It's just because your body goes, well, this is the time we normally eat, so let's ring the alarm. It's time to eat. It's like a grandfather clock or a cuckoo clock, and like, at noon or midnight it goes off, right? Because it's just what it's programmed to do. So if every day you eat your final meal of the day at say 5 o'clock, but you finish eating at 3 or 4 o'clock, well, when 5 o'clock comes, you're gonna get the hunger cue because then your body's like, hey, this is the time we usually eat. If you then eat at 5 o'clock, even though your goal was to stop eating by 3 or 4 o'clock, just understand it's not because you're hungry. It's because your blood sugar dropped a little bit, and then your body's like, oh, we normally eat at this time. It's time to eat again, right? Food cravings. Food cravings can happen when we have a bad day. Let's say you go through a breakup. You get into a nasty fight with your significant other, you break up, whatever the case is. You feel lonely, sad, whatever. Guess what puts on serotonin and dopamine in your brain? Sugar, right? When you feel low, sad, angry, whatever the case is, you have that low feeling, your body wants to pick you up. And so it'll do that by getting you to eat something, put something in your mouth, or do something that's going to raise your serotonin levels. If you're experiencing a lot of anxiety, your body starts generating tension in your neck and your jaw. And your body does this to get you to bite down, to chew on something. And then you get a salt craving. And so guess what you do? You eat something that's crunchy and salty. So when people come to me with anxiety, they're like, I had a lot of anxiety and I'm gaining weight, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you eating a lot of potato chips and nuts, aren't you? Yes. Yes, I eat a lot. I am guilty. I eat a lot of potato chips. Because it's crunchy and salty. Because the salt alleviates the stress from the anxiety, brings some cortisol down, right? Takes the edge off that adrenal rush. The calming method, right? So the chewing and the crunching and the salt is a mechanism, it's a self-soothing mechanism. And this happens subconsciously. This is what I mean about your feelings. Now, if you have a goal, you don't reach your goal according to your feelings. You reach your goal according to a plan and a strategy that you execute very consistently. And in executing that strategy very consistently creates a precedent that your body then develops expectations from. And then your body will adhere to that. So, for example, if your goal was to lose weight and get out of diabetes or insulin resistance, well, the only way that your body is going to become more insulin sensitive is if you set a precedent. Hey, I'm going to be slamming carbohydrates like they're going out of style, right? Your body goes, okay, fine. We're going to have to figure this out. And your body will develop will develop the adaptation, and that adaptation is called insulin sensitivity. And then as you get more insulin sensitive, guess what? You end up having higher levels of energy because your body says, hey, in order to deal with this surplus of carbohydrates, we're going to have to get better at converting the carbohydrates into glucose and then using the glucose on a cellular level to convert it into energy. If that conversion process is quicker, then we can make room for all these extra carbs we got. Well, we got this abundance of carbohydrates. We got all this glucose. We got all of this energy. We got it. Well, I guess we got to use it. So, guess what happens to you in your brain with this carbohydrate dominant diet and all of this new insulin sensitivity? Guess what happens? You feel like you want to do stuff that you didn't want to do before when you didn't have no energy. That's what you're going to want to do. Exercise. Your body wants you to exercise. Your body wants you to be more active and build more muscle mass. You know why? Because your body's like, man, you're slamming all of these carbohydrates. It'll make my job easier if we had more places in the body that can utilize this surplus of glucose. So then you start exercising, you start building muscle. Now you can eat more carbs. Your body anticipates that you're going to eat more carbs because you keep increasing them. And if you keep increasing your carbohydrate intake, your body's going to keep increasing your energy levels and to provoke you to engage in more activity to start using that glucose. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If your goal is to be more insulin sensitive, to have more energy, to get better sleep, to build more muscle, well, it's got to start with the strategy and the consistent deployment of carbohydrate consumption. That would be an example. Now, if you had, oh, I don't feel like eating carbs today. Oh, I don't feel like eating today. Oh, I feel like fasting today. Oh, I feel like eating a bunch of fat today. If your feelings pull you away from the strategy, well, your body's getting mixed messages. Oh, so I guess we're doing high fat now? We're done with the carb stuff? Oh, we're back on with the carb stuff. Oh, we're back off. Oh, we're not eating at all. Oh, now we're back to eating. Well, which one are we doing? Do we adapt to the fasting? Do we adapt to more fat consumption? Do we adapt to more carbohydrates? What are we doing? How do you get to that end goal when all of this other different mixed messages is going on over here? You're jamming yourself when you do this. This is essentially how it works. If the goal is a fixed point, the strategy has to be a fixed strategy that leads to that point directly. And the feelings are destabilizing. Essentially, the feelings are going to create a lack of homeostasis, and then it's going to, when you deviate far left, your body pulls you back hard, and then you come past that midline, you go all the way to the other side, and then you get all this volatility in your life, right? So if homeostasis is a straight line, the further away you go from midline, you snap back real hard back to that midline. But when you snap back so hard, you pass that midline and then you're back on the other side again. You got to snap back again. So away and you snap back, away, you snap back, away, and you snap back, and you go on boom, 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 boom. Volatility. What does that volatility look like? Yo-yo diets. You're skinny big, skinny big, skinny big, skinny big. I lost 100 pounds. Crash dieting. I was working out 7 days a week and eating 210 calories a day. I lost 100 pounds. Then I started eating again. Then I gained back 120 pounds. Then I did it again. Then I lost 80 pounds. Then I snapped back, gained 90 pounds. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Originally, you lost 100 pounds. Then you gained 120. So now you're up 120. You're 20 pounds heavier than you started. Then you lost 90. But you're still short the 10 pounds from when you lost the 100. So you're not really making a whole lot of progress. You're just swinging all over the place. So really, in actuality, you're only moving the scale like 10 pounds at a time, really. That's what you're averaging out at because of all the volatility. So people go through this lifelong struggle, big, skinny, big, skinny, big, skinny. Because when you capitulate to your feelings and you do it repeatedly, this creates volatility. And then what happens is you're doing these big movements with very minimal return as a result. So this is why when it comes to your feelings, if you just understand what your feelings are going to do, when you have certain cravings or you want to be off your plan, if you're hyper aware of what your feelings are going to do and what that's going to set you up for, what you need is the awareness. Because then when you're aware, now you have a choice. If you're not aware of what your feelings are doing to you, then it's not really like you have a choice you didn't know. But now, if you're aware of what it's doing, now you have a choice. Basically, exercising and practicing that awareness just gave you a choice. Now you get to choose whether you capitulate or not. You're in a much better position. So when you feel that, you get to just say no. Now, the thing is with food cravings, if you say no, they pass, right? So let's say if you feel hungry, you got a hunger craving. It's temporary. Hunger cravings are not permanent, ever. They pass. They all do. Even if you're starving, they still pass. So you get this massive swing. You feel ghrelin. Your stomach feel a little bit empty. It's growling a little bit. But if you let it pass, leptin kicks in. It shuts your ghrelin off. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone. Leptin is the hormone that signals that you don't need to eat. You're full. You're satiated. So if you capitulate to ghrelin each and every time, you're just going to be stuck in a loop of just capitulating to food cravings. If you don't capitulate to the ghrelin, it will pass, and then you stay on track, and then you avoid all of this volatility as a result. One thing that's very important to understand too is understanding if you're dealing with cravings, where are they coming from? It's good to know, to understand your cravings. Don't ignore them, but you understand them and you acknowledge them. I'll give you an example. Let's say hypothetically you're trying to lose weight and you just like, I want Krispy Kremes. I want Krispy Kreme donuts. Is that what Krispy Kremes are? Are they donuts? I don't know much about Krispy Kreme. We're just going Krispy Kreme donuts. Let's call them that. There you go. I want Krispy Kreme donuts so bad. I want them so bad. I go to sleep and dream about Krispy Kremes. I want Krispy Kreme so bad. I say, why you want Krispy Kremes? What's with the Krispy Kremes about? It's like, I don't know. I really like Krispy Kremes. You eat Krispy Kremes? Yeah. Well, I don't eat Krispy Kremes anymore. When's the last time you had Krispy Kreme? Oh, it's been a long time since I had Krispy Kremes. When was the last time you had Krispy Kremes? I really started eating Krispy Kremes like crazy back when um, I went through my divorce and I lost my job. And Krispy Kremes got me through hard times. And when at that lowest point in my life, I was smashing Krispy Kremes. Okay. So why do you want to eat Krispy Kremes now? Well, honestly, I'm under a lot of stress. They overload me at work at my job because there were several of my coworkers that got fired, and now like their workload was passed on to me. So I'm super stressed. I'm not sleeping well. And I don't know, I just have this massive hankering for Krispy Kremes. Oh, okay, cool. So we know that stress is a trigger for your Krispy Kremes, right? So when you're going through a hard time in your life related to like that's like work related or you're being pressured, right? This is pressure from getting fired or losing your job, getting laid off or whatever, a divorce, a lot of pressure. Or like, people at your job quit and then you inherit all their work. It's a lot of pressure for you to get all this extra work done. So the thing that's driving you to the Krispy Kremes is the pressure. Boom, figured it out. If you reflect, that's how you can figure it out. Oh, okay, now I know. That's a trick. When I'm triggered by certain life events, then they kind of give me this need to want to do this particular thing. But if you understand it, you and acknowledge what triggers it, then you can say no and you can go on about your business. You'll be fine. That's kind of what I mean. So there does need to be a certain level of introspection, right? Because there will be feelings. It could be you have a hard time going to bed on time. Why do you have a hard time going to bed on time? They say, well, what I did was I set my alarm to go bed at a certain time and I got in bed and I laid down. Yeah. And then what'd you do? Well, I just couldn't go to sleep. You couldn't go to sleep. What did you do? Well, I got in bed. You got in bed and then what did you do? I was on my phone. Yeah, what were you doing on your phone? I was scrolling through social media. Oh, okay. Well, if you're sitting on social media scrolling through your phone, cackling and carrying on, Kiki and whatnot on TikTok, scrolling through all the comedy videos, yeah, you're not going to be able to go to sleep. If you're watching Netflix or whatever, or YouTube videos and whatnot on your phone, and all the lights are out, you got this big bright light hitting you in your face, and you're watching all of this stimulating stuff and watching videos in HD and 4K, yeah, you're not going to go to sleep. You're stimulating the crap out of your brain. You're not going to go to sleep. So what did you do? Because you can't just be like, well, I just I just had a hard time going to sleep. Yeah. Well, at first when I went in bed and I turned on all the lights and I just tried to lay there, but like I wasn't falling asleep. Yeah, how long did you wait? I don't know. Give me an estimate, like a ballpark. Like when you cut all the lights out, you got in bed and you laid there. Did you get into a comfortable position? Yeah. Okay, so you got into a comfortable position, and then how long did you lay in that comfortable position? And then close your eyes. I don't remember. Was it more than 5 minutes? Probably not. My mind keep racing. Okay, my mind keep racing. Thinking about what? Sometimes the questions, you can have this dialogue with yourself. What were you thinking about? What was your mind racing about? Right? Because you can resolve things in real time sometimes. What if your mind is racing? Is it because you're chasing every thought that comes to your mind? Because you can work on that, right? It's funny because little kids do this too, but little kids, they do this while they're awake, with their mind racing all the time. So little kids, they can see a white dog and they can see a brown dog. And the little kid could, if you teach the little kid about like racism or something, the little kid to see the white dog playing with the brown dog. And the little kid says, how come white dogs can get along with brown dogs and they don't hate each other? But white people don't get along with brown people and they hate each other, right? Like little kids will ask you about stuff like this, stuff like this. Uh-oh, we got a disconnection going on with this with OBS. Yeah. Okay. Little kids will ask you questions like this. It'd be heavy questions little kids will ask you sometimes. Mommy, do you love daddy? Yeah, it could just be wild, crazy stuff. They look at us. But as an adult, y- if you don't have the time to go through your stuff in your head because you're always at work and focus on all this external stuff, when you go to sleep at night, then it's like, do you think about yourself? Do you think about your traumas? What do you think about? And I don't have all the answers. What I'm saying is to just go through the dialogue, talk to yourself, because we neglect ourselves a lot, and it comes back to bite you. Because if you have goals, you can't just power straight through to the goal and just continue to ignore yourself. It doesn't really work that way. So sometimes you got to spend some time with yourself, and you just got to have the internal dialogue. Just ask the questions. We got to clock ourselves sometimes. We got to snoop on ourselves sometimes. We got to be like a little invasive. Right? How long did I lay in bed? What's my comfortable sleeping position? Why do I think about this stuff at night? Why do I get these food cravings? Make a list of some of the favorite junk foods I used to eat as a kid and see how do I still have those cravings? Do I still think about these things today? Etc. My childhood traumas, how much are they affecting me today? Right? Things of this nature, just thinking about it. And you come up with the answers. And when you come up with all the answers, then you have choices. And a large part of reaching your goals having choices. And the most important choice is the choice to stay on track. And staying on track looks like maintaining homeostasis all the way to your goal. Let me leave it there. By the way, I'm gonna try something because I think I made a mistake. Watch this. Let me know if this sounds different to y'all. Oh, it's actually not an option here. I probably have to restart that whole thing, huh? Yeah. All right. Y'all probably hear me through this. That's what y'all hear me through. Oh, that's gonna be real interesting to see how that sounds. I didn't have this mic plugged in. Oh man, it wasn't plugged in. Let me catch up with y'all here in the comments. You're dropping some gems, sir. Yeah, we get a little deep. I talk about the mindset stuff too. It's not all just food. A lot of social events involve going out to eat at restaurants. I know this lifestyle takes sacrifice. I don't want to stop going out to eat with my friends and lady friends. Any advice on that? Um, you can make some compromises depending on where your values are. So, how often do you go out to eat? That would be an example. Who's picking where to go out to eat? What are the alternatives? I give you an example. You are on a raw vegan journey or high raw vegan journey. You eat very differently than everybody else eats. If you're going out dating and you're the one where you're solid on your diet, guess who's picking where to go eat? You. You're going to decide where we're eating, right? If you don't want to go out and eat, you can go out and do something else, right? You can go shoot pool. You can go axe throwing. You can go do archery. You can go do indoor rock climbing. You can go to a gun range, right? For those of us Americans who just love guns so much, right? I think it's a good use of time, right? Sharpening up your aim and your ability to properly operate your sidearm, right? Or whatever firearm you're using. You can go to the gym for a workout and bring that person as your guest, right? You go to a jazz concert. You can go hiking. There's a lot of other things to do. You don't just have to go out and eat, right? So sometimes you just got to think a little bit outside the box. You can go, and depending, like if you have like one of these, like if you live in like a luxury housing complex, and they have like this main building a lot of the times where it's like an event room or something like that, and they got pool tables or whatever in there, or it's just a lounge area. You can bring a bunch of mangoes and melons and stuff, and you can chop up fruits and whatnot. You can bring a cutting board and fruits and everything like that, and bring the people that you have in a social event with. Y'all can all just get together and just eat fruit the way that you do. So you can get in the driver's seat and just have everybody else come along, right? You don't have to capitulate to where everybody else wants to go or what they want to do. You can have a social life. There's a lot of ways to socialize other than just sitting in a restaurant overpaying for food and eating things that's not even really in alignment with what your goals are. Nay, nay, what's good? What's good going on? Good to see you. What's good going on? Did I say that? I said, what's good? What's going on? Good to see you. Paul teaches a lot of half truths, especially when it comes to phytic acid and oxalates. Yeah, I mean, he seems like a guy who he doesn't particularly seem to be very educated on nutrition at all, to be quite honest. He seems like he does some quick Google searches or he repeats things that he hears other people say. He doesn't really seem like a person who understands the science very well, which I would understand that if he didn't understand the science very well, because he's a psychiatrist, or at least when I looked him up. Matter of fact, let me not keep saying that if that's not true. Hold on. Let's see, Paul Saladino, MD. Okay. But did Paul Saladino quit carnivore diet? What? Okay, so I stand corrected. He has also appeared on the Doctor's TV show and on many prominent media outlets. Dr. Saladino completed residency at the University of Washington and attended medical school at the University of Arizona, where he focused on integrative medicine and nutritional biochemistry. Did he now? Let me look at his primary care, let's say classical psychology today. Let's see. I'll probably look this up at another time, but I think I saw before it was like psychiatry or something like that. Oh, psychiatrist. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, Seattle, Washington psychologist. Yeah, so Paul G. Saladino is a psychiatrist in Seattle, Washington. He received his medical degree from the University of Arizona. Okay, gotcha. That's where I saw that from. All right. So just wanted to double check. You know what I'm saying? Trying to be factual. Let's see. Great advice. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a lot of vegan restaurants and a lot of raw vegan ones, which is great. Okay, there we go. How do you keep those that you live with on a raw vegan diet goals when they eat a lot of crap? So I'm very good at converting people, right? I remember, like with my mom, um, I wore her down. Uh, my missus she's already She's already vegan, particularly raw vegan. She actually um, was raw before me. She was a large part of my motivation and inspiration to even go raw in the first place. But yeah, so I mean, look, people can eat whatever they want. That ain't got nothing to do with me. And besides, the stuff that they eat anyway don't really smell that good to me. So, for example, cheese to me smells like a biohazard. Not really into it, which is kind of odd because I used to like the smell of cheese, and I don't understand how I did like the smell of cheese because I don't like the smell of cheese at all at this point. I lost my sense of smell for it big time. Meat, I don't like the way the meat aisle smells. It smells like a morgue. I don't like that. People cooking meat and stuff, it smells funky. I don't like that. It smells like contamination, right? Not a big fan of that. I don't like all of that. So that's the deal with me, but my personality is a little different, right? I'm not really tempted to go and eat outside of, what other people want to eat. I don't really yield to peer pressure like that. If anything, I'm the primary source of peer pressure in any given social situation. So I'm usually the one that ends up pressuring other people to eat like I eat. I'm always campaigning, y'all. I'm always campaigning, spreading the message. All right. It was a beautiful night tonight. We got through everything. Okay. I was like, all right, there's these three things that I want to talk about. And we'll go boom, 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 boom. Right. So we did it. So this would be available for the replay. I don't know how the audio is going to turn out because I didn't even have this mic plugged in. Thought I had it plugged in and I didn't. So that's a blooper on my end. Right. But y'all was able to hear me clearly and whatnot. So, hey, if it's good enough for y'all, it's good enough for me. Well, then again, I don't know if it's ever good enough for me because I can be a very harsh critic of myself. So I don't know. All right. Does anybody have any more questions? Did we get to it all? Did we nail it? Are we straight? Did we hit the like button? We got a good amount of comments in here, y'all. Good amount of engagement. If you like the stream, like the stream. If you like the stream, hit that like button. You know what I'm saying? As they say, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification to get updates on future videos, as they say. All the instructions that folks on YouTube put out. So things are coming along nicely. We're tuning in here. Oh, you got one question. Let's hear it. That's right. Let's get them questions in. Oh, that's right. I should plug my stuff, right? Because folks are probably like, how do I get a diet plan from him? How do I get on a call? That stuff. If you want to book a call with me, if you want to sign up for my newsletter, if you want to sign up for coaching, get a personalized plan. There will be links to that stuff in the description of this video, the description box or the description section of this video. So that'll be up. That'll be up there. But yeah, Chi-Town Survivor. Chi-Town Survivor. That's intense. What was the question? Let's hear it. What happened? Yeah, like we're gonna get a real long question pop up here in the chat. I like people usually give me short questions, so it's never like really long ones. So we're gonna see. Yeah, Shy Sound Survivor, you still in here? May not still be in here anymore. All right. Well, in any case, you can leave the question on the replay if you come back, and I should have an answer for you. Oh, here we go. One Vision Production. Phytic acid and enzyme inhibitors in most grains and seeds can be easily reduced or minimized by simply soaking overnight tablespoon of lemon juice, apple cider vinegar. Oh, that's true. It can also be done through grounding, roasting, sprouting, things like that. But yeah, you are correct. Absolutely true. All right, folks. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna hold y'all for too long. Oh, here we go. I'm a skinny guy, 5'11", 155 pounds, who always read that I need 3,000, I guess, calories to gain muscle. Do you think that's true? Or should I just eat more than I normally eat? Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, you should probably just eat more than you normally eat. Do you need to eat 3,000 calories a day to gain weight? I mean, if you're trying to, maybe if you're trying to gain fat, but it depends on what you're eating, right? I mean, if you're trying to build muscle, typically when you're trying to gain lean mass, you really only need to be in a surplus of about 10%. Okay, 10%, 20% at the most. But as far as the scientific data that I've seen on muscle mass and hypertrophy, as far as caloric intake, um, it's 10%, right? So basically, what you would have to do is you would say, okay, how much do I need to eat in order to maintain my body weight for my current activity level? And then you tack on 10% to that, and that's where you get your number from. All right. You could also calculate your calories and macros according to your goal weight. So if your goal weight, let's say you're 155 pounds and you set a goal weight for 170, you can calculate your macros according to that 170, and that should be a good way to get there. All right. Generally, if you want like a more simple answer, like rather than calculating calories and macros, because that implies some kind of math and 10% and this and that can be a bit technical. You could do simple things like, let's say, for example, you eat 4 meals a day. If you eat 4 meals a day, like a minimum of 4 meals a day, you should be able to gain weight. All right. 10% of not what you normally eat, because the thing is, if you normally eat in a caloric deficit, let's say your caloric deficit, and there's not really a such thing as a caloric deficit, but just for the sake of conversation, if let's say your minimum of what you normally eat is, let's say that you needed to eat, let's say your average caloric, let's do this. Let's say your average caloric burn per day was 2,400 calories. Let's say that's what you needed. Ideally, you need 2,400 calories, and you every day eat in between 17 and 1,800. Hacking on 10% onto that 17 or 1,800 is not going to get you to where you need to be in order to gain weight. You get what I'm saying? Um, so you're 5'11", you weigh 155, you weigh less than me, right? I eat in between 24 and 2,600 calories a day. I am currently like 160, yeah, 162 pounds, somewhere around there. Let's say 160. Um, you would need to eat somewhere around what I'm eating if you wanted to gain that weight. Also, if you're focusing on gaining muscle mass, you could be working against yourself if your training volume is real high. Okay. So if you're training 5 times a week, or 4 times a week, or 6 times a week, and you're in the gym training, lifting weights for like an hour, hour and a half, uh, you're going to be losing muscle and weight in the gym from that kind of training because it's too much. You're breaking down way too much. You should be training like 3 times a week, intense, and you shouldn't be training any longer than 30 to 45 minutes. All right. Um, if I'm trying to gain muscle mass, I'm trying to gain weight, I'm training like 2 or 3 times a week. If I'm trying to gain weight, that's what I'm doing. I'm training 2 to 3 times a week. I'm not doing more than that. Because if you train more frequently, you're just going to be burning more calories. You're going to be damaging more muscle. Your recovery is going to take longer. It's going to eat into your sleep quality. It's just not good. All right. So one of the biggest mistakes that skinny guys make is they're training too much. They're doing too much. Right. So sleep longer, sleep better, eat more, train hard, but train less. Okay, so I can trust the calorie calculators. Well, and it depends on which one you're using. But I think that the calorie calculator, you can use a calorie calculator, and that would give you a good start. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. The oxalates and leafy greens aren't problematic when you're eating them raw. Love the channel. Keep up the good work, bro. Peace. Appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, that's right. We don't stop getting this work in. All right, y'all. Well, you know what? We put in some time here. I'm not gonna hold y'all too much because it's going on 10 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna round it off here. And I'm doing this every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right. So just business as usual every week. And then TikTok Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm live streaming on there at 8 o'clock Tuesdays and Thursdays. All right. So having said that, thanks for coming through, and I will catch y'all on here next Monday.